Hello, this is my first video on this channel where I will talk about history and politics, always trying to be factual and unbiased. Sorry in advance for any German mispronunciation. Now, to what brought you here? What was the Nazi religion? Were they Christians like many wrongly claim? First, we must understand the origins of the NSDAP. In late 1917, an artist was discharged from the German army due to injuries sustained in the Western Front. He gained an interest in pan-Germanism and the mythology of the Teutonic people. Although this man resembles Hitler, it's not him, but Walter Nauhaus, leader of the Germanic Order of the Holy Grail and co-founder with Rudolf von Sebottendorff of the pro-Nazi Thule Society. The Thule Society was founded by Nauhaus and Sebottendorff as a discussion group bent on creating the Third Reich, adopting ideas such as Ariosophic racism and esoteric symbols like the swastika, and with special interest in topics such as the esoteric side of the Kabbalah, as well as Egyptian and Hindu religious beliefs. After the creation of this group, Sebottendorff and his colleagues bought a newspaper called the Munich Observer, which was masqueraded as a sports paper to fly under the radar of liberal and socialist opposition. During the late Imperial Germany and early Weimar government, there was high surveillance of extremist political organizations. Within a year, this newspaper would be renamed to the Racial Observer, becoming the principal press for the Nazi Party. It's worth to mention that anti-Semitism was already present in this group and was one of its doctrines. As Sebottendorff said regarding the masquerade of the journal, quote, "A Jew is only interested in sport if it shows a profit." End quote. The Thuleists already wanted the same as the Nazi Party before it existed. A greater Germany devoid of Jews, Freemasons and communists. Sebottendorff wanted to eliminate Jewish capitalism so that honest German workers and businessmen could thrive. So, it's not a surprise to know that the Munich Observers, soon to be Racial Observer, head sports writer and new political editor, Karl Herrer, co-founded with his fellow Thule Society colleague, Anton Drexler, the German Workers' Party, also known as DAP, in October 1918. This journal featured many Aryo-Germanic paganist articles with concepts such as Chandala, Halgadom, the Church of Wotan, also known as Odin or the Armanen, racial soul, and Aryan religions of light. The NSDAP, represented by this journal, even got to co-sponsor the pagan winter solstice festival in December 1920. The Nazis were very indulged in pseudoscience, looking for any claim to be magician that would further their goals. Himmler was the most radical mysticist, founding the SS filled with mythological and runic symbols, using astrologers to do everything, like determining the position of Benito Mussolini's prison during the Italian Civil War. Of course, the position was found using conventional methods. Don't be surprised with this, as it was common in this German era to use astrologers. Even the Navy used them to try to determine enemies' vessels' location. All kind of pseudoscience, as long as it didn't go against Hitler's propaganda, had place. Biodynamic agriculture, a form of agriculture that believes that there are lunar and astrological influences on soil and plant development, was used in Germany's 1936 Olympic Games. Even in religion, the Germans were third positionists. Himmler didn't believe in the theory of creation or the theory of evolution. Regarding the origin of the Aryans, he said, quote, "Aryans did not evolve from apes like the rest of humanity, but our gods come directly from heaven to earth, who emerged from living kernels that were conserved in the eternal ice of the cosmos." End quote. He believed that powers from the old gods, mythological ones like Thor's thunder, could be retrieved and used again. However, these powers were only given to the most pure, to the selected few, the Eisen. These religious beliefs were part of what was to be implemented after the war, the World Ice Theory, a theory that said that ice was the basic substance of all cosmic processes, a theory that appeared in the dreams of its creator, Hans Horbiga. It was their belief that moons of ice collided with Earth and flooded Atlantis, where Atlanteans, or Aryans, lived, so they had to flee to places like Tibet. Hence the famous expedition there to find remnants of a lost civilization. Hitler sponsored this theory, even saying in 1942, quote, I tend to support worldview theory, end quote. As we can see, the Nazis defended an amalgam of pagan and folkloric theories. Based on this, there was a need to recreate pure Aryans, reinstate the pure blood and special powers lost due to interbreeding with other, considered lesser races. Hitler did not have a positive opinion on Christianity, as he said, quote, "Christianity itself was universally destructive, metaphysical akin to naked Bolshevism, by introducing that mad conception of life that continues into the age beyond and regard life negligible here below," end quote. He also said, quote, "Priests of both confessions, Protestants and Catholics, represented the greatest public danger," end quote. Hitler, Rosenberg, Himmler and Goebbels spoke often about creating an alternative religion by emulating the tactics of the church, a religion that privileges the sanctity of nature, of blood, soil and race, which Christianity did not represent. They only tolerated Christianity because it was impractical to eradicate it during the war. It was politically costly and would damage the stability of the regime. However, the goal was to end it. As Himmler said, quote, "Two great world powers, the Catholic Church and the Jews, were striving for world leadership, united in their struggle against the Germanic people. We have already removed one of these powers, the Jews, at least from Germany. The time will come to settle accounts with the other after the war," end quote. They saw the world as an eternal war between the Aryan race and the others, which were considered inferior and bringer of evils, even believing that witches were the German mothers persecuted by the Christian faith. The Germans were persecuted in their view, and a genocide was made against them and their culture. Talk about an inferiority complex, right? The plan was to bring back the lost pagan culture and religion. Lebensraum was also a plan to resettle farmers in the east living in medieval-style houses and healing the sick with natural remedies. This was even tested by the Ahnenerbe, an organization set on proving the superiority of the Aryan race that would later be incorporated in the SS, built a model colony east of Berlin, where inhabitants were encouraged to hold pagan winter and summer solstice celebrations. Well, that is it for this video. Do let me know if it was what you expected, and if you already knew. Don't forget to support my work so I can do more of this. Leave a like, subscribe, and you can comment as well, leaving your opinion. It's really important to me. Thank you, and see you next time.